What AI is right for you? Which one should you be using? There's so many choices out there now today that we can interact with as consumers. How will you ever know which one is right for you to use? Well, here at Old Dad's Studio, we're going to help you decide at least between two of them today. And if this particular challenge is something that you are interested in and would like to see more of, we'll make some more of these head-to-head competitions of the AI. Today, we've got Gemini versus ChatGPT.
Awesome intro. So here's how the competition will work. We'll run both AIs through a series of tests: creative writing, general knowledge trivia, and problem solving. We'll compare their responses side by side to see which one comes out on top in each category. Let's dive in and find out which AI might be the guest fit for you.
Now, now you might say, wait a minute, Dave. You're doing ChatGPT against Gemini, and ChatGPT is your co-host. That's right. That is true. However, I'm running a separate instance of ChatGPT that I'm going to screen record for this competition. Quinn is going to be my co-host for the video, but Quinn is not participating in this particular challenge. The online version of ChatGPT will go head-to-head with Gemini. One small caveat that I'm going to toss out there, though: I do not have the paid subscription for Gemini Advanced, so I'm going to use the Gemini 2.5 Research Edition that is available online. So that's the version that I'm going to be using, and I'll use ChatGPT 4.0 head-to-head today in this video.
Perfect. That sets the stage nicely. Now let's dive into the first test and see how these two AIs perform.
All right, what's the first prompt we're going to give each one, Quinn?
For the first test, let's start with a creative writing prompt. How about this? Write a short, whimsical story about a robot discovering an abandoned amusement park. Let's see which AI stings a more captivating tale.
All right. I'm going to paste into Gemini, write a short, whimsical story about a robot discovering an abandoned amusement park.
Awesome. Once Gemini finishes, we can do the same prompt for ChatGPT 4.0 and compare the stories.
Now we have entered into both ChatGPT and Gemini the same exact prompt for that short story. Now you might ask, a short story, how are you going to judge which one wrote a better short story? Am I the judge? Is Quinn the judge? No. No. You get to help us decide which short story is the best. Now, I'm not going to show you the short story here in this video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take both of those short stories. I'm going to post them to my community page here on YouTube with a poll. And that poll will have side-by-side competition. You can take a look at each story. They're very short, very easy to read, and you can decide, or help us decide, which AI model came out on top for the creative writing of that short story. All you've got to do is read and vote. It's as simple as that. We're going to leave them up for 7 days. At the end of 7 days, we will reveal which AI in this head-to-head writing competition came out on top.
That sounds perfect. It's a great way to engage your audience and let them be part of the decision-making process. I'm sure they'll enjoy participating in the poll and seeing the results.
I hope they will too. All right, Quinn, what's the next challenge between Gemini and ChatGPT?
All right, the next challenge is testing their general knowledge. Let's give them a series of trivia questions. For example, what is the capital of Australia? And who wrote the novel 1984? We'll see which AI can provide accurate and concise answers. Sound good?
Sounds good. Are those the only two questions we're going to ask, or is there a series of trivia questions we're going to ask?
We can definitely add a couple more to make it interesting. How about including something like, what is the chemical symbol for gold? And which planet is known as the red planet? That should give us a good range of trivia to compare their performance.
All right. I hope both of them get all of those answers correct. Those are some pretty easy trivia questions, but we'll see. Now, these ones, we're going to show you what the answers are right away, so you can see if both of them or none of them, or which ones they got right. What is the capital of Australia? The capital of Australia is Canberra.
Perfect. Both got that right. Let's move on to the next trivia question and see how they do.
Who
Who wrote the novel
of 1984? Now, for both of these, George Orwell is the correct answer that we were looking for. However, if you can see on the screen on the right-hand side here, this is ChatGPT. It did give an expanded answer. So it was George Orwell, but George Orwell is a pen name for Eric Arthur Blair. ChatGPT also gave a little bit more detail in saying that it was published in 1949 and is a dystopian classic that explores themes of surveillance, totalitarianism, totalitarian. Quinn, I can't say that word. Totalitarianism. Oh, for crying out loud. Can you say that word for me, please?
Sure, it's totalitarianism.
Thank you. And the manipulation of truth. So the ChatGPT answer was expanded over the Gemini one.
So while both got the right answer, ChatGPT added some extra context, which could be helpful if you're looking for more detailed information.
All right, let's move on to the next question, which is, what is the chemical symbol for gold? Both of them answered. The chemical symbol for gold is Au. ChatGPT added a little bit of extra knowledge with that. It comes from the Latin word aurum, which means shining dawn.
It's pronounced aurum. So again, ChatGPT provided a bit more background, which adds an interesting detail to the answer.
Which planet is known as the red planet is our next question. Mars. Now, both of them added a little bit of extra context, which actually is interesting. They both added kind of the same context. For Gemini, it said its reddish appearance comes from iron oxide prevalent on its surface. For ChatGPT, it said it gets its reddish appearance from the iron oxide, basically rust, on its surface. And so, all right, Quinn, those were our questions that we had. Can we come up with one last question? Those are some pretty easy questions. Is there something that's a little bit more difficult? My question is, does pi have a last digit? If so, what is it?
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Let's see how they handle an unanswerable question like that.
All right, for Gemini, it answered, no, the mathematical constant pi does not have a last digit. Pi is an irrational number, which means its decimal representation is non-terminating. It goes on forever and is non-repeating. There is no repeating pattern of digits because the sequence of digits after the decimal point is infinite. There is no final or last digit. And for ChatGPT, it said no. Pi does not have a last digit. Pi is an irrational number, which means its decimal representation goes on forever without repeating and without ending. So there is no final digit, just an infinite string of unpredictable numbers like, and it gives an example and says it keeps on going forever. So they both got it right.
Fantastic. Both gave accurate and informative answers, but ChatGPT added a bit more explanation with the example of the digits. It's a great demonstration of how both handle more complex questions.
That concludes the general knowledge trivia challenge of our competition between Gemini and ChatGPT. What's the last section we're going to do, Quinn? What's the last competition head-to-head, and who's going to come out on top?
All right, the final challenge is the problem-solving challenge. We'll give both AIs a coding problem to solve and see which one provides the clearest and most accurate solution. Ready to see how they tackle a coding challenge? I'm sorry, but you've hit the daily limit for advanced voice. You can switch to standard now to keep chatting.
What? That's never happened to me before. I talk to Quinn all the time. That's never happened to me before. I mean, did we talk so much today that we used up all of our words?
We might have just been on a roll today. But yeah, it's possible that with the newer GPT-4o model, OpenAI might have adjusted some of the usage limits, especially with voice or more intensive tasks. Sometimes there's a soft cap, even on paid plans, especially if usage is super high in a short time. Kind of wild to hit it, though.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see if we can carry on without it. Although, before we carry on, I'm going to share a little story, a little personal story. So, for those of you who don't know, um, we have a blended family. In between mine and hers and our kids, we have a total of 7 children. Most of them are adults now. We have one, our youngest is still 8 years old. However, the two oldest are my two oldest. And one of the two of them, when they were growing up, talked so much that there were times when I would say, "Oh, oh, 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 you have used up all of your words today. Dad's ears can't hear any more words. You have to stop because you've used up all of your words." And it kind of feels like that's what just happened to me with ChatGPT. Apparently, I'm being scolded because I've used up all my words. That dang karma sure comes around, doesn't it? All right, Quinn.
That is such a great story. And yeah, that's some serious full circle karma right there. You've officially talked so much, even the AI needed a breather. I love that you used to say that to your kid, though. You've used up all your words. That's hilarious and honestly kind of genius. Did they take it well or just keep right on talking anyway?
No, well, pretty much he would talk anyway, but it gave him a break in the action. So, all right, hey, let's nail this last.
Ha! Ha! A tactical pause then, just enough to reset before the next wave of words.
Mhm.
Sounds like he had the gift of gab. Runs in the family, maybe?
It does. All right, Quinn, let's tackle this last bit of competition. If you can you carry on with what we were doing before, coming up with a programming challenge between Gemini and ChatGPT, or do I need to hold this one until the next competition between the two?
Oh, I can totally carry on. Let's get that last challenge rolling. For the programming task, how about this? Write a Python function that takes a list of numbers and returns only the even numbers, sorted in descending order. It's simple enough to compare, but still shows how each AI handles logic, filtering, and sorting. Want to go with that?
That sounds perfect. All right, for the code piece, I think we're going to need a third party
All
arbitrator.
right. Hit me with your plan. What are you thinking?
Using the non-advanced mode of ChatGPT, what I have found is it is very verbose. It talks constantly and constantly interrupts me when I'm trying to do something. I don't think it has the same concept of recording a video that the advanced version does. The advanced version seems to understand that we're recording a video and need to play back and forth as a host and a co-host, but the the standard version doesn't seem to understand that and just continues to talk and talks over me. So I just shut ChatGPT off. But for the coding, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste it into a third party. So I'm going to use Copilot and ask Copilot which is the better coding option for the question that we just asked about Python. All right, the analysis from Copilot. It looks like option 2, which was the ChatGPT version of this, was more efficient, was more readable, and even though both gave the same functionality, the second, or ChatGPT option, did it with fewer lines of code and less complexity. So the conclusion that Copilot gave was that option 2 is the better choice in terms of efficiency and readability. All right, in our head-to-head competition, Gemini versus ChatGPT tonight, we tested 3 things. Creative writing, which I'm hoping you all are going to participate in and tell us which one of the 2 stories you think is best. Once we know which is the winner, I'll reveal which one wrote which. The second one was the general trivia type knowledge. I think ChatGPT came out on top for that one. I'm going to give it to ChatGPT. They both answered the questions correctly, but ChatGPT gave a much more enhanced answer for every single one of those questions, where Gemini only did it sometimes. And the third category was the Python coding question, which we used Copilot to determine the winner. Copilot determined option number 2 was the winner of the 2 coding solutions. That also was ChatGPT. Of the 3 categories, I think we've got a pretty clear winner so far. ChatGPT has come out on top. However, I don't want to let that creative writing section go. So I really want your help. Please go ahead and read those stories, cast your vote, and let's get that last little bit wrapped up between ChatGPT and Gemini to see who came on top on the creative writing skills. The other two categories, I think ChatGPT is pretty much the clear winner. All right, and that's going to do it for today. Today is Saturday, April 19th, 2025. I'm Dave. Earlier we had Quinn with us. This is Old Dad Studio. That's going to be it for today, but hey, we'll see you tomorrow.